two deaths which shook the collective conscience of Bengaluru in the last 1 week. One, 22-year-old Bhanurekha, and the other, 27-year-old Lokesh. They may not have known each other, but then they were united in death because of a common reason: waterlogged, inundated roads in Bengaluru due to pre-monsoon showers. I know what you're all thinking, whether you are viewers from Bengaluru or elsewhere. This isn't the first time, as this recurs every year. Same scenes of flooded roads and a deluge which drowns this beautiful city. Where does the Bangalorean go? Well, to the BBMP is the logical answer. But then, is the BBMP equipped to handle the rains in Bengaluru? Hasn't it been caught napping repeatedly? Isn't the BBMP becoming a symbol of what is terribly wrong with such institutions? Vaji, you know, in the morning when I was reading the newspapers, what shocked me was the latest excuse. I'm going to go on and on about it, where the BBMP said, listen, please do not use this underpass. I don't know why that driver went under the underpass, maybe, trying to be more loyal than the king, because Sidharamaiah said the same thing. But the point is, they said, do not take shelter under the flyovers. How are citizens supposed to then move around? I mean, you please shut them. For everyone can go back to work from home and happily have a holiday. This is the kind of messaging. Don't you think, Vaji, that this is one of the lamest excuses one can come up with, Vaji?
Well, the BBMP believes that it has to pass the buck on somebody, and who better than a driver who will not say anything. But from what we've got to know from the situation that occurred that day, there was waterlogging over there. The driver could have averted it, but the BBMP also goes on to say that they had placed barricades in front of him, but because of heavy winds and rain, those barricadings were not there. So this clearly gives you an indication that they were also not prepared, and the driver also did something that he should not have done in the first place. But you cannot completely blame the driver or Lokesh for falling off into the pit. It is these measures that the BBMP should have taken way before the rains should have come. It is not that it rained yesterday or day before yesterday and the BBMP should start preparing it. These are recurring issues. These happen year after year, year after year. The visuals that we saw last year were horrifying. The ones that we've seen this year is one time bigger than that, two times bigger than that. And this is just pre-monsoon season. And the preparedness of BBMP is known from the statements that they've given. Even when we spoke to the Chief Governor, Tushar Giri Nath, he also said that we have a surplus amount of money from last year's budget. We are using that same money for desilting, for clearing the stormwater drains, to clearing the pipes and everything. But you know what happened? When it rained the other day, it had strong winds. And because of that, big leaves got stuck into the drains. And that is why water clogging happened. These kinds of excuses is not something that Bengaloreans will buy now. I think it's high time that the BBMP starts working on issues than giving excuses, because standing below a flyover, standing below a bus stand, standing below a tree, all these things can fall. But that does not mean that you don't do these arrangements. You don't do your bit of it.
Wajihulla filed a report and did this short interview or conversation with the Chief Commissioner of BBMP, Tushar Giri Nath. Take a look.
45 minutes of heavy rain resulted in the death of two people in Bengaluru, one a 22-year-old techie and another 31-year-old resident of Nagarara. So how do you see these two deaths? Who do you think should be held responsible, or who is accountable for this?
The deaths are unfortunate. Any death is very, very unfortunate, and we always work to see that public is kept safe under all circumstances. But the circumstances were unprecedented. We received around 50 mm rainfall in certain areas within 45 minutes, which is equivalent to around 150 to 200 mm rainfall in a day. If you see the intensity, it is very huge, and you cannot have a linear scale that if it would have fallen on 20 mm, there will be damage which will be very less, but it becomes exponentially high when it becomes 50 mm rainfall in 40 minutes. So that is how the unprecedented rainfall has resulted into certain areas getting inundated. But if you see the more or less overall only 20 houses got inundated. That means our systems of cleaning the stormwater drain and keeping our systems update are quite effective, and they have not led much of damage anywhere to the either to the public property or the private property or to life. The two lives which have suffered this onslaught of rain. We are very sorry for that, and government has declared 5 lakh each ex gratia. There had been circumstances in which the driver took a wrong turn and took to the underpassage which was getting inundated, but the rate at which it got inundated was so high that the death has occurred. We are getting all our underpasses audited, getting them audited and trying to find out as to whether we can make them safer, or if they are not at any point ready for traffic, the traffic should not be allowed there to come. So there should be some barricading, etc., or some system which comes into operation immediately.
So, but year after year, we see similar situations. If you see the visuals that we saw on the day when it rained, similar visuals were seen last year also. The entire Bellandur area was flooded. So this is a recurring problem. Why don't we have a permanent solution for this?
As I told you, nobody can plan for a downpour of that intensity. It will, certain areas get flooded and they will go off. So the rate at which they are cleared, you have to see the rate at which they get inundated and the rate at which they get cleared. We cannot say tomorrow that 100% there will be no water on the road or no water on the underpasses, but they should be cleared fast. So if you see, hardly there had been any inundation in Bangalore, even with this high intensity. That is what I am saying. Around 15 houses at one place and 5 houses got inundated. The 15 houses which got inundated was also because we were taking up our drain work there. So we are completely geared up. All our drains, around 850 odd kilometer of primary and secondary drain. There had been 2 rounds of cleaning since November till this time. That is why you will not find much of backwater coming to the houses. Similarly, we are desilting in each ward. Last year, money has also not exhausted, so that desilting is going on in that money. This year, freshly, we have kept around 30 lakh for each ward to get the cleaning done of the tertiary drains, which are getting connected to secondary drain. All our major roads are under maintenance, so they are under some maintenance contract. So they are regularly being kept clean. We have engaged gangs at the level of subdivisions for which we have kept money, and they are going to be there for 4 months of rain. So during gangs means there is some 8 to 7 persons who are taken with the proper equipments, etc. They are taken for a temporary period of 4 to 5 months to see that by October end or November first week they will be under operation. They clear when this type of clogging is happening during the rain. They will physically go and clear it. During the other time when it is not raining so heavily, they maintain the cleanliness on the roadside blocking should not happen. If you see this time, there had been very strong winds blowing, followed by rains. Those two big events, both are potential type of hazards, both came together. So we had large number of twigs and leaves blocking the various waterways, and the rain came so heavily following the gust that both together had caused this problem. This problem is only been very, very localized. Actually, all this water goes very fast. If you see, within 45 minutes of that incident, the water has majorly gone. Only it was 1 foot or 1.5 feet remaining, which we have now made, again, cleaning up of the gratting has been done, and it is going on.
So in a way, you're trying to say that though the pre-monsoon showers gave us an idea of what is going to happen, we are prepared for the monsoon.
No, we are very much prepared. I am only saying that despite our all preparedness, when the rains are having that high intensity, we are issuing a warning to the public and public at large, and to our administration also. People should heed to those warning also, so that it makes our life slightly easier to do the rescue operation, to clean the things. Even when the gust had destroyed around 100 trees, we were not in a position to reach there because a lot of traffic was going towards various places, to the city center for IPL matches and every something, because after 1 hour the thing was normal mostly to the people, but it has obstructed our rescue operations. So we request the citizenry also when this type of events happen, they allow us to move. That means if they are indoor, etc., it would be helpful to a bit.
So my last question is, sir, there haven't been election for the last 2.5 years, sir. How do you think the BBMP is functioning? What does the people need to understand? Do they have to approach their corporators or the MLAs? How is the thing going to function right now? Because there is this confusion of the elections. Do we have any clarity on that, sir?
This question you can ask to the government. When is it going to happen?
All right, sir. Okay, so that was Mr. Tushar, who clearly said that situations like these do occur, but the BBMP is prepared for the monsoon, and he's also requested people to make sure that they stay safe, they abide by the rules when such situations occur.
All right, and with due respects to Mr. Nath, instead of giving, you gave a lot of suggestions. But what about the latest suggestion, which we are focusing on today, which is do not use underpass and do not please stand under any flyover. Like I said initially, he's actually egging on people to either take flights within the city or even fly. Sandeep Aniruddhan, I mean, this is the lamest excuse that I have heard. And also, how do you expect people who are cooking, cleaning, sending children to school, working in the morning to heed to advice? I mean, unlike the West, where you have warning systems which are working non-stop, because that warning system is not because they have better communication skills, it's only because they know it's happened last year, it's been happening for a decade. So they say storm coming, do not go, rain's coming, etc., etc. Don't you think this do not use underpass and the flyover excuse is really ridiculous?
Well, if you look at the culture of, let's say, sensitivity that we see in our country, it's pretty low. I think we have very low tolerance. No, we have rather high tolerance. We have very high tolerance to poor delivery of services. We have high tolerance to inefficiency. I think the value we give to human life is very negligible. It might be a problem of plenty because we have a huge population. We don't really value it much, and governments are also characterized by inefficiency, and I think the population by and large are desensitized. So there is such low expectation. We really don't expect them to do better. But I think it is time that we start setting a high bar. It's time we stop accepting the low quality of services we get. It's time we start demanding more. Otherwise, nothing will change, because everything that a government delivers will be based on citizens' expectations. And the louder the citizens' expectations get, the tougher it becomes for a government to ignore. But more and more, if we keep ignoring what the government does, then there'll be business as usual. So I think a big role in improving the overall quality of life, delivery of services, preparedness, it'll all depend on how citizens engage more actively. And this is the main reason why the platforms that are intended for citizens to engage with government on a regular basis have to be robust. And especially when they are legislated. If these are mandated under law, then there should be absolutely no forgiving the government if the government doesn't deliver these things, like the ward committees at every ward, the disaster committees at every ward, things like these. There should be absolutely no tolerance to not having these. They are mandated under the constitution. The government has to deliver. And the overall improvement of our civic services will only happen when they are directly answerable to people.
Right.
Which is why decentralization and devolution is so important. Right now, we have a system which is being played because despite the law saying that the BBMP should be decentralized, devolved, and unified, the politicians of the state are unwilling to let that happen. For 3 decades, they have prevented it. They don't allow the BBMP to be decentralized. They don't allow a strong mayoral system of government to evolve.
Right.
They don't allow elections. Can you imagine? It's a joke that a city government has not had elections for 3 whole years.
I know, this
So
is really,
Sandeep,
this is shocking. This is shocking actually, you know, it's beyond a joke now. It's shocking.
Right.
You know, where does one go to? I mean, you really brought up some very good points, you know, that maybe we have become very immune to all this, you know, we have high tolerance. What is high tolerance? I think that phrase is also overused. You have high tolerance for pain. Maybe I have some kind of a, you know, deterrent. That's why I am not shouting and screaming. We should all shout and scream when in pain.